Okay, so while we await, again, my name is Professor Hernandez, and it is a great pleasure to welcome you to join ITD 2021, International Translation Day celebration for 2021. We officially celebrate the day tomorrow, but today, the Spanish 420, that's the Spanish text translation class, is welcoming you during their class time to join ABRACHES, the Association of Translators and Interpreters of Brazil, and the Verbatim reporting services, namely the United Nations Language Services Department, so that we can tell our future linguists how to apply for internships at such a wonderful organization, and then also so that we can learn from ABRACHES how we can use languages as a path to the future. So I leave you now with our keynote presenter, and later we will be able to hear from our special guests.
Good morning, and thank you so very much, Mirutia, for this introduction. Thank you, colleagues. As Miru said, I've been on this bandwagon for a long time, and I have learned a lot during this period of time, enough to share with you. I got somebody coming into the room. And ABRACHES is the Brazilian Association of Translators and Interpreters in Portuguese, Associação Brasileira de Tradutores e Intérpretes. We are 47 years old already. Wow. And we serve the whole of Brazil. One unique quality of ABRACHES is that we also represent sign language interpreters. Also, they're all over the country, and we work with them promoting their services, just like we do with spoken language professionals. We have over 500 members at this time, so we are not as representative as we'd like to be. And this is the result of what has been happening since 2008, when we have a lot of issues in Brazil, and then again 2020 with the pandemic, which affected, both events affected our economy very, very hard. But we have over 4,000 followers on LinkedIn, over 10,000 followers on Facebook. So the interest is there, and we are working very hard to bring all of these people into our fold. Why? Because associations are the support we need. Just like we need our families, associations work in that sense, giving us the moral support, the tools we need, helping us develop ourselves, our professional persona, our tools, so that we can deliver quality products to our clients. More than anything else, what I love about belonging to an association is the fact that I get to learn from the mistakes our colleagues have made. Every time there is a presentation, somebody's going to say, oh my gosh, yes, I did that. Oh, I paid so hard for it, so high for it, whatever. And that allows us to learn from their mistakes and correct our own actions to avoid them. Another thing that I like about being a member of an association is that I have the ability to speak with colleagues I would not, if I were alone, have the opportunity to. Through the board, the professional directory, I have access to other professionals with a higher level of knowledge in specific areas that I lack. And I can reach out to them and learn from them. Associations also protect our interests when we think in terms of clients that are not paying well, or working conditions that do not meet ISO requirements or the regional requirements, the standards that have been set up for our industries, we can use those words that are contained in those standards to defend our positions. I am an interpreter and I am a translator. As an interpreter, one of the things that has happened with the change for online is that individuals and agencies believe that since we are home now, guess what? Why do I have to pay you so much? You're comfortable. Why do I have to worry about your health? Sorry, there are so many things involved in being able to be here speaking with you. I have to buy new equipment, and it is expensive. I have to change my computer to a higher processor and a higher RAM. My headphone, it has to be USB. Why? I didn't know. I was like, but why? I have another one that works fine. Guess what? The USB headset has a built-in processor that will clear noise. My headset is unidirectional. If there was any sound happening around me, you would not hear it. You only hear my voice. Plus, one thing we need to take into consideration is the cognitive load of the work we do. When we are interpreting, we are not parrots, we are not magical telephones, we are not machines, we are human beings. And the needs of the human being need to be taken into consideration. Cognitive load. Do you understand what that means exactly? When we are interpreting, we are hearing what you say. We are processing that into bits that can be conveyed into a coherent message. And then we transfer that into another language and do the same process in reverse so we can speak. That takes a long time just to explain. It happens in seconds in our brains. But when you do that over and over and over and over and over again, it takes a long time. And when we are online, I have to worry about my computer. I have to worry about notes that my colleague is sending me. He's not next to me. He's not touching me. I have to be monitoring 2 or 3 screens in order to be doing that. It takes time for us to learn to do that. I can go for 40 minutes when I am doing a in-person interpreting. For online interpreting, the recommendation now is 20 to 25 minutes, not even 30. Because of that cognitive load. Plus, there is the issue of the light from the screen on your face, the demand that it gives to your eyes. So it creates a lot of problems. Now, going back to decoding the message and transferring it back to the other language. It doesn't happen in 1 second, as I mentioned before. It happens quickly, but it's not in 1 second. The training you need to go through to get to that point is very demanding. Mind you, in order to be able to convey a message, you need to know more than words. You need to understand emotional signals. You need to understand nonverbal clues. You need to also understand the culture. More than anything, understand the culture. In Portuguese, when I say absolutely, I mean, no way, no how, don't you even dream about it. In English, it is Oh yeah, for sure, count on me. Same word, but culturally speaking, the meanings are different. When I'm writing a paper and I say, it's absolutely certain that 2 plus 2 is 4, the meaning of the two words is the same. But when I put that facial expression, that intonation, the meaning changes. So I need to know the culture to be able to convey the message. But there is a lot more required of us interpreters. A colleague was interpreting the Prime Minister of England in Canada. It was a business meeting, but he came up with this little nugget. From Canada to the US, it's just a 9-iron. What does that mean? Well, if you play golf, you know what he's talking about. It's a wooden golf thingy. I don't even know what they call it. The thing you use for hitting the ball, that thing? Yeah, a club, yes. So it's a wooden golf club used for short distances. Guess what? In Portuguese, in Brazil, we don't play golf. The reference would go crazy. Nobody would understand. So my colleague switched it for just a skip and a hop, the equivalent in Portuguese, which is what he meant to say. So your cultural knowledge goes beyond understanding words. It takes you beyond understanding what happens within a country and allows you to fully convey a message because the meaning will be completely imbued on your delivery. That is important because, as I just mentioned, with the wooden club, if they had translated that specifically as such in Portuguese, no one would have been able to understand the meaning of the message being conveyed. So my message to you, when you think of using your language knowledge to forge your path forward into your future, is you have great tools available to you. Use them. Join an association. Many associations usually have free information available. So even those who are not members can take advantage of that. So explore what is available to you, even in your second language. So if you speak French, join a French association or Canadian association. If you speak Spanish, Argentinian, Mexican, Cuban, Panamanian association. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you'll be exposed to what your colleagues are doing. You'll be able to grow professionally with support, and you will be able also to develop your knowledge. And knowledge is not enough. Your cultural bearings are important. You need to hone them too. Miru, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's been a pleasure. I hope I shed some light on your journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gio. It is always a pleasure to have you because you have this wealth of experience in the field that always is an eye-opener. Indeed, in the path, in the career path, rather, especially in the field of interpreting, I'm sure that those who would like to follow a career in interpreting, which is what I'm trying to say, could really take light of part of your tips, your advice. A lot of us are only interested in the translation part, but some others are interested in both translating and interpreting. What you mentioned is very interesting. We did have an incident many years ago of a UN official who was delivering a speech, in a specific Spanish-speaking country. And he was condemning the warmongers, but his African accent caused him to say, we condemn the warmongers instead of warmongers. And unfortunately, the interpreter would not have been properly trained to comprehend or be creative when African accents popped in. And unfortunately, the person said that they are totally against of the Wamanga tribe. Estamos en contra de la tribu de los Wamangas. So it's very important to have general knowledge. We have to read. We in the language field, we are persons who have to listen to the news. We have to watch the news. We have to read. We have to be aware of what's happening in the world. We have to be on top of things, and preparing yourself before an event is just as important as studying and acquiring the technique to be successful in it. Thank you very much, and thank you. Please send Abraches our love from the Bahamas. We are very pleased that they release you to be with us and share. Please feel free to share information on whenever Abraches has events, because in the Caribbean region, we've been trying to get organized. You have been helping me with this journey, along with Vice President Reina de Bettendorf. I want you to know, colleagues and students, that the International Federation of Translators, I call them the language police for the UN. Okay, that's my. They are very much into establishing standards for the profession and the industry, and they have allowed us to count on the help of Vice President Reina de Bettendorf, as we have been working on forming what is going to be CITA, C-I-T-A, the Caribbean Interpreters and Translators Association. We are working on that. Every initiative in the Bahamas that I have been a part of has been designed to work on that path. And Gio has been my partner in crime, along with the board of the Federation. We hosted in the Bahamas in 2018, the Bahama Bread Retreat. And the Bahama Bread Retreat was an event designed to collaborate and to bring light in terms of the updates in the industry to the region. And surprisingly, it was a boutique event, but we had 7 countries represented. So we can't wait for the next Bahama break. And especially it will be also with the United Nations Reporting Services. So now, as we transition to introduce our special guests, and also I wanted to say thank you to our chair again. I'm not sure if he's still here. Yes, he's still here. Chair Bonilla, thank you again for the opportunity. As you can see, this is something that our students can really benefit from. Chair Bonilla and the former chair, Dr. Wajir Tokolrol, from they got me, spoke to me to become a visiting professor. They have been really working hard to include translation studies officially at the University of the Bahamas. So now that Professor Bonilla is the chair, he is taking that mandate to the next level. I'm presently teaching Spanish 420, which is Spanish text translation. I want you to know that our students are learning on translators ethic, and they're receiving general information about the translation career, right? So now we already have 23 persons present. I am very, very glad that you all decided to join. And let's see what is the UN Verbatim Reporting Services. Let's talk about that. And next, we are going to have none other than, I'm going to give you the next item on the agenda. We will have none other than Ana Maria Acosta Perrojo, who is translator reviser and is the person that is going to help us to understand how the internship process works, because she's the internship coordinator, is also a training officer at the Spanish Verbatim Services. Now, just before we welcome Ana Maria, let's watch a video that will help us to understand what is it that they do at Verbatim Reporting Services. So pay attention to this short video as we prepare to receive the icing of the cake. I do hope that you can hear it properly. Ready, set, go. There you have it.
Hola a todos y a todas, me llamo Jesús Estevez y soy de Madrid, de España, y trabajo en la sección española de actas literales. Llevo trabajando en el sistema de las Naciones Unidas desde hace casi 5 años y mis idiomas de trabajo son el inglés, el francés y el español. En el servicio de actas literales lo que hacemos es plasmar por escrito los discursos, las declaraciones y las intervenciones que se realizan en diferentes órganos de las Naciones Unidas. Entre ellos, los más importantes son la Asamblea General y el Consejo de Seguridad, que es el salón en el que nos encontramos ahora. Este órgano es el más importante y es el que representa nuestra principal labor, porque es el órgano al que la Carta de las Naciones Unidas le confiere el mantenimiento de la paz y la seguridad internacionales. Nuestra labor consiste básicamente en traducir, cuando hay intervenciones en otros idiomas, al español, y cuando se habla en español lo que hacemos es transcribirlo, simplemente. Para trabajar como redactor de actas es muy importante tener un conocimiento muy bueno de tu idioma materno, por supuesto, también comprender bien el idioma extranjero, y hay que también procurar siempre traducir de manera que respetemos la intención, el tono, el objetivo de la persona que está hablando, pero también tenemos que escribirlo de tal manera que quede absolutamente natural en nuestro idioma materno. Por último, me gustaría decir una frase que dijo un antiguo secretario general de las Naciones Unidas, Dag Hammarskjöld, que era que las Naciones Unidas no se han creado para convertir la Tierra en un paraíso, sino para evitar que se convierta en un infierno. Ese es realmente nuestro objetivo y es en lo que queremos y por lo que trabajamos.
Beautiful, beautiful. I hope you enjoy that. And before we go to the important part of our presentation, you have a poll. There you go. Very quickly, let us know. Do you know the difference between translation and interpretation? Let us know quickly. Do you know the difference between translation and interpretation? Can you see the poll? Yes, I can see that you're seeing the poll. Do you know the difference? Very good, very good. Now, do you know why September 30th was chosen as an International Translation Day? Oh, my students, I know they're gonna know that. Now, also, would you like to receive information about translation as a career? And that also includes interpretation. So if you have answered this poll, I want you to take a screenshot. Hopefully you'll be able to show your face there. And this is mainly for UB students. And I want you to broadcast that you have been here. If you are a UB student, this screenshot is going to help you to receive any bonus points that you might have been awarded for attending extracurricular activities. Definitely the Spanish translation class is expected to take a screenshot of this poll, as this is going to help the panel to answer some of your questions and prepare. So hurry up, take your screenshots and share. If you tweet that you have been celebrating ITD, the code is hashtag ITD 2021 at 242. Hashtag ITD, as in International Translation Day, 2021 at 242. 242 being the code of the Bahamas. All right. And without further ado, right now, we would like to ask Ana Maria to
good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you, all of you, in this nice and professional chat about the work we carry out at the Spanish verbatim reporting section. At the outset, I would like to introduce myself to all of you. My name is Ana Maria Costa. I'm a reviser for the Spanish verbatim reporting section, where I have been proudly working for the last 14 years. Thanks, Mirurgia, for having introduced me first, and thank you for having welcomed us so warmly. For starters, I would like to introduce all of you to the work we carried out at the Spanish verbatim reporting section. Okay. Okay.
Compartir la pantalla.
Let's share the screen. Okay. Thank you so much. In our first slide, we have the our Spanish verbatim reporting section at the United Nations, and what we do, and who are we, and where we come from. We all work under the Department for General Assembly and Conference Management. Each section is made up of 8 persons. That is, we have a supervisor or chief, 4 translators, 3 revisers, and occasionally temporary staff. Our service was created under mandate of the Security Council and the General Assembly. In the case of the General Assembly, under Article 54 of its rules of procedure. In the case of the Security Council, it was, in the General Assembly, the 58th article of its rules of procedure, and for the Security Council, the Article 54 of its regulations. Okay. On January 10th, 1946, the first verbatim record was taken at a plenary meeting of the General Assembly. At the beginning, it was not always made on all languages. It was upon request. Later on, when the service was became more professional, all languages were included. I mean, the 6 official languages of the United Nations. For whom we work, we translate or edit for the Security Council, the General Assembly, the First Commission, the Disarmament Commission, and the Committee for the exercise of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people. Our work is mainly based on editing when it is a Spanish text, and translation when documents are coming in English or French. The Security Council is our main priority. We work hard because it requires immediacy, and we based very much our work on teamwork. We work all together, we consult each other, and we make up a very good team. We also work for the General Assembly, the First Committee, and the Commission of Disarmament, including documents from the Disarmament Conference. At the beginning, our documents were prepared in shorthanding, then they were transcribed, and afterwards, when the service became more professional, we transcribe, we edit, translate, revise, and then comes the consolidation process, which is the last part where we deliver our final, our end product. Okay. There is a difference between verbatim records and summary records, which is what is mainly made at the translation service. In verbatim records, we reflect literally the speeches, statements, and briefings of representatives, including procedural matters, which we call in Spanish, which we call action lines. Verbatim records are prepared in first person. As I said before, for the Security Council, the General Assembly, First Committee, Disarmament Commission, and the Special Committee. And this is the way we present our documents in the Security Council, some PV, process verbal, and the number. Summary records do not include procedural matters, and they are prepared in third person versus verbatim records that are prepared in first person. And they are also made for other United Nations organs. Okay. When in the elaboration process, we take as measure what we call take o turno in Spanish, which are speeches, statements, or that last around 10 minutes with 3,000, from 3,100 to almost 2,000 words. What is the raw material of our work? I mean, tapings, recordings of sessions, and the speeches that are provided by the delegations. We have a strict deadlines to submit, to present our end product. And we consult. Before we had DT search, but now what we mainly use is the ODS and UN term, official document system. And as a software, the transcription recording system in Copy, which is our platform, Iluna, Microsoft, Dragon Natural Speaking, etc. Okay, now, in the whole process comprises the following stages. First, as translators, or we are, sometimes we don't have time enough to read the original because of the immediacy of the work we have to deliver. But first, the translation, I mean, not translation, translating as a process, then revising, then the process to consolidate the word, I mean, spelling, uniformity, precision, and so forth. And at the end, the consolidated part of the document. And then finally, it's published. Why do we traditionally attended the Security Council meetings? Our team, we rotate in a where we just go there to pick up speeches that are circulated delegations. We pick up the list of the speakers and we take down the name of speakers, for how long they talk, their language, and so forth. That's what we have traditionally performed at the Security Council, than under a mandate of the Security Council and by virtue of a resolution. As to differences and similarities with other services, as we know, in the interpreting process, it's the same oral text with different technique. In translation, different text with the same technique. These are, this is a picture as part of our collaboration project. It's a groundbreaking project that was created in order to partner with different translating and interpreting services from different countries and universities, taking into account that the Caribbean and Latin America have not been have been underrepresented in the translation services and verbatim services too. This is, as you can see, Alejandra as chief when visited Cuba, the main interpreting and translating service in Cuba, AST, and there she carried out a workshop on translation for the AST staff and also for translators from other entities that joined the project. Okay. Verbatim records are official documents that have a very great historical importance because they represent the historical memory of debates about the main events at national, regional, and international level on which the Security Council can influence, can take decisions, and change the course of history. Our work as such is anonymous, but it has a very great value because we witness and inform about the evolution of humanity. This is a picture that was taken on the occasion of one of the anniversaries of the United Nations. And here we have one of our Undersecretary Generals, of course, the United Nations Secretary General, and staff, a representation of staff from different departments. Now I would like to talk about the internship service at the verbatim reporting section. We have an internship project that we have been carried out carrying out for the last 7 years. This has been a very useful project where graduates and even translation students have participated. We have received here young graduates from different countries, namely Spain, Argentina, Uruguay. That's we have a very good memory of those students, of those interns that worked with us 5 days a week. They translated as if they have been working here for years in a very professional way. And I can proudly say that one of those graduates that took part in our internship project, she has passed the language competitive examination, and eventually she will work for the organization. Interns, the internship candidates, main language should be Spanish, and also fluency in a third language, in any other official language of the United Nations would also be an asset. So our interns translate from English or French into Spanish, and in some cases, some of them have knowledge of Russian or Arabic or another language. In order to request an internship, these are the websites where they should apply, and also be in contact with the update information that provides the United Nations. At the Spanish verbatim reporting section, we would like to have more interns, but all this process changed when the pandemic rise, and we haven't been able to continue our project, in presence. Maybe in the future, we could have virtual exchanges, and we could continue our work, internship work that has been so fruitful and successful. Thank you very much for your attention, and we are here ready to any question you would like to ask. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ana Maria. You gave us so much information that I am sure many persons were looking for. This is a very important event for our region. As you know, it's not all the time that we are properly represented at international entities, and especially at the United Nations levels. So this is a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful initiative. I'm presently sharing my screen for those who were not here earlier. I just want you to know that this session is being recorded, and I will be able to share this with you later. These are the persons who have shared with us, and presently we are almost at the end of our session or seminar, where everybody was signing so early. But I am sure that this is going to be perhaps the longest and the one that students or participants are being waiting for. Why? Because many participants are being so interested in understanding how to apply. But then again, there are so many questions because some of us believe that we have to be perfectly proficient in 3 languages, some of us in 2 languages. And as we can see, there are languages of interest.
Of course.
Right? And then there's a proficiency level that we have to prove we have. Now, in terms of proficiency, before we open the floor to the participants' questions and answer, participants, please, before we go on, please go to the chat and let us know where you are joining from. Even though some of you registered, some person just requested the password and maybe we're not registered. So we just want to know where you are joining from. I saw some colleagues from Panama. I believe the president of the Panamanian Translators and Interpreters Association is here. If not the president, the former president, but I saw some colleagues and I saw also one of the colleagues from Panama.
The former president.
The former president, okay. Bienvenidos usted. Bienvenidos usted. And Rogelia, in the association, what is it that you do? I understand that you are linked to the legal field. Could you please introduce yourself for us?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Rogelia Van Riel. Yes, I do form part of the Panamanian Association of Translators and Interpreters, and I'm working in the committee that deals with legal issues right now.
Perfect. So as you can see, participants, you can address your questions to the United Nations Verbatim Reporting Services professionals. You have the names of these persons right here. Based on what they do, they will be able to help us and the appropriate person will answer. I want you to know that we have here also Alejandra Ramirez, Chief of the Spanish Verbatim Reporting Section, which is Verbatim Reporting Services. You saw her in a picture during the presentation delivering a training in Cuba for ESTI, which is the National Translation and Interpretation Services, that works directly doing the equivalent job of what they do, but for the Cuban government. So Alejandra, before we go on, can you say a few words for us?
Yes, of course. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Professor Hernandez, for inviting us. It's a pleasure to be here. We have already been invited, I think, twice by the university, and we were so happy. And then there were some problems and we couldn't make it, including the hurricane that hit you and that we felt so sad when we heard the news. Fortunately, I think that the situation is better now in spite of the pandemic. And anyway, it's a pleasure to be with you, even if it's remotely, even though I would love to be there in person, but it's still a pleasure to be able to talk to you. And I am so happy for the interest shown in knowing more about the United Nations Language Services and the verbatim reporting section, in Spanish verbatim in particular. So we are open to answering any questions. I am sure that there will be many. First of all, it's hard to understand sometimes the requirements. So in our case, to be an intern, one requirement is that the Spanish language has to be the mother tongue, and then have English as a second language, of course, fluency in English, and French is desirable, but is not required. That is a clarification I wanted to make for an internship. Now, the opportunities are multiple. There are multiple opportunities. Why? Because internships are not only at the Spanish verbatim reporting section. There are other internships for other languages. So if your main language is English, there can be other opportunities at the United Nations. If your main language is French or another language, the same. It's not limited. So we are only talking about our Spanish section. because of course that's what we that's what we do. But there is a way to find other opportunities, always through the UN website and through the UN social media, because you can find the UN at Facebook, Twitter, what else? LinkedIn. So you can always go there and you will have updates. So if it's not through the UN website and the link that we just sent you, that we have just shown you in our presentation that Anna showed, you can find updated information at the UN website and UN social media about the opportunities. And also internships can be, as I said, at our section, Spanish, can be French, English, or other sections, but also there are other language services. Perhaps it's hard to understand because it's not only one. So there are translation services that in the presentation that Anna offered, she explains the translation services translate reports, resolutions, letters, and other documents. That's why she said they are in the third person. Whereas our service, the verbatim reporting service, translates and edits all the speeches, statements of the meetings of the Security Council and the General Assembly and other organs. And so that's why it's in the first person, is what is actually taking place at the moment. That's why it's so interesting. Now, at the same time as we have our internships for the Spanish verbatim service and the other languages, such as English and French, the other translation services also offer internships, or they do the other types of documents that I mentioned. I don't know if it's confusing. In case you don't understand it, I can clarify. So there are multiple opportunities, and it's a matter of seeing them in the UN website and social media. And also, if there is anything that we are aware of, we can let you know. We can also alert you, even though I am sure that you are always looking at social media, but in case you miss anything, we can always alert you when there is an opportunity. I don't know what else I am missing to tell you. Yes, that because of the pandemic, as Anna explained, we had to adjust the way we work. We are working now remotely. We are going to the office only once a week. And the same happened to the internships. We stopped the internships during the pandemic because we didn't have enough capacity. And of course, now we are willing to resume internships, but we have to see, we have to find a way according to how the situation evolves. So if we go back to the office and the situation in New York improves, it has been improving, by the way, we may consider the possibility of resuming internships in person. We are looking forward to it. But it doesn't depend on us. It depends on the situation of the pandemic in New York. And also we have to consider the situation in other countries and all the obstacles to air travel. And it's complicated now, but we are not losing hope. If it's not possible to resume in-person internships, we will find a way to continue this process remotely. And I think that this, for example, this presentation could be the beginning. The fact that even though we cannot be together in the same conference room or conference hall, we can be together remotely, and this is the new trend. Perhaps it's not what we would prefer, but there are always ways to continue So I hope we find a way, and rest assured that we will do our best to find a way so we can keep in touch and see how we can organize ourselves. And if, as I said, if the opportunities aren't in our section, we would love to have some of you in our section. But if your mother tongue is not Spanish, there can be other opportunities, as I said, in other services. So I don't want to continue talking too much. In case you have any questions, we are ready to answer them. If it's not me, it can be Ana or Marta or Juana, or if you want, or I forgot anyone, Zoraida, that is also here. If you want to ask questions very specifically about internships, you can go ahead, or if you want to ask any other question about our profession or anything, just go ahead. And thank you once again for this opportunity and for your interest. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we have some other members of the UN Verbatim Reporting Services team. And definitely we want to say thank you to all the students from the University of the Bahamas. Our chair, again, thank you for affording us the opportunity to use the Spanish 420 Spanish translation class to celebrate International Translation Day. We are also so delighted that we have Giovanna Lester, president of Abraches, the Association of Translators and Interpreters of Brazil. And of course, as I mentioned recently, we have our colleague Suzette and nuestra querida Rogelia from the Association of Panama. There might be other professionals that have joined us and students from other entities. To the entire UN Verbatim Reporting Services team, thank you so much. And now we have our students willing to ask questions. Perhaps you have answered the questions in your presentation, but I do have one. And students, please, or participants, feel free to start typing your questions in case we do not have time to give you the opportunity to take the floor. Not for everybody, but you can feel free to raise your hand if you want the floor to ask a question, and just to, in case you don't have the opportunity to ask, given the time line, then feel free to write your question. But the question that I have.
Yes. Okay. Miru, hello. You froze for a second.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, after you ask everybody to raise their hands.
Okay, so thank you. I was asking if you can raise your hand if you would like to ask a question. You could feel free to ask in English. That's why we created the session in English, to ensure that you understand. But the question that I have, and maybe it could be the question that some of my students have, in terms of language proficiency, do you recognize the DELE, the diploma, the certificado de diploma español, as a language proficiency, or do you recognize IELTS, the English certificate often sponsored by the British Council, or any of the language proficiency exams, or do I just come with a Spanish-speaking passport or a passport from a Spanish-speaking country and tell you I'm a native? How do you select who's a native, or how do you select it? It is perhaps if do we have English speakers whose language B is at AB level? Can they be considered? Who can answer that, please?
Yes, thank you, Professor Hernandez, for the question. Yes, this can be confusing, but what we do is when we say Spanish, it means it has to be, in our case, Spanish. Spanish has to be the mother tongue. It means that studies, the main course of studies for the candidate should have been in a Spanish-speaking country. In the case of Spanish, it has to be Spanish as the mother tongue or the first language, or it will be because it will be the source language. So the translations would be from English and French into Spanish. Now, if the internship is in the French service, not in the Spanish service, for example, it will be the other way around. It will be French as the mother tongue. If the internship is in the English service, also, it will be the other way around. It will be English as the mother tongue, and then second language would be French, third language, Spanish. I don't know if it's confusing. And then it's not so much looking at the certificates, but as for the mother tongue is having done the main course of study in a Spanish speaking country, or French in the case of French, or English in the case of English. So for instance, let's say I am applying, I am a candidate. So where did I study? Well, I was born in Argentina. Okay, country of origin doesn't matter. But what language was my main course of study in? It was in Spanish. My elementary school, my high school, and my university, I did all of that in Spanish. So that counts for main language or source language, mother tongue. Yes, I don't know if it clarifies. The same applies. Let's say there is somebody from Haiti, the mother tongue would be English, would be French, excuse me. Bahamas, mother tongue would be English, right? So that's how it works. And as for the other languages that are required, well, full command of English or full command of French, English is usually the second language at the UN. Why? Because there are 6 official languages, but 2 are the working languages. Working languages are English and French. It means if your mother tongue is Spanish, you have to have English as a second language. If your mother tongue is French, you will have English also as your second language. If your mother tongue is English, the same. You will have French as a second language or Spanish. I don't know if it's confusing, but it revolves around the 6 official languages of the United Nations. And okay, and the way to prove the knowledge of the second language can be English, it can be French, it depends on each case. There isn't one criteria only. Why? Because you have to take into account the fact that UN staff members and UN interns can come from all over the world. And in the different countries and regions or continents, there are different ways of assessing what level somebody has for a certain language. So in the European Union, they use one system. In Latin America, they may use a different system. In the Caribbean, maybe a different one, and so on and so forth. So just in the application, the candidate has to specify what languages. The application has one part that it would be clear if you could see it, but I don't have it right now on the screen. But the application is done, as Anna showed you in the presentation, through a platform called Inspira. It's a platform that the UN has to apply for internships or positions. In there is one area that asks specific questions about languages, and it will tell you what is your main language. You will say which one is your main language, then your second, and if you have a third. The third language, in the case of internships, as I mentioned, is not a requirement, but it's desirable. But if you have 2 languages for an internship, it's enough. Now, in there, it gives you different levels. So you will specify, for example, fluency, or it will ask you if you are fluent or confident, and if you can read, write, or understand. So you start to fill out the form by answering those questions. That is one way of assessing languages knowledge. And then you can say, where did you study, for example? If they ask you, the application will ask you, where did you study French, or where did you study Spanish, or where did you study English, for instance? And you will mention, if about the mother tongue, it's very easy to prove because there is an area where you have to say where did you where did you complete your main course of study. So, for example, you will say in the Bahamas or in Haiti or in I don't know, in Brazil or wherever you are, and then that is a way of proving that your main course of study was in such and such language. And then as to the second language, you will say, for example, I studied translation at, and you mentioned, or it can be somebody who studied translation or interpreting as a career, or it can be somebody who has a different degree. For example, a bachelor's degree in, I don't know, can be a language teacher, can be a journalist, can be even somebody who studied something else, can be political science, can be law, can be different things, as long as they have a solid knowledge of languages. You were asking, as I said, the certificates is hard it's hard to have one standard for all the world, but just mention, for example, French. I don't know, the Alliance Française, somebody who maybe has the proficiency certificate from the Alliance Française, or studied at a certain language, English language school, or if it's Spanish, I don't know what you have in each country, but you can mention, it can be, like you mentioned, certain certificates I am not familiar with, because there are so many systems in each country or region, but you just mention them in the application, and then there is a system that like filters first the candidates that have the minimum requirements. So let's say that I post in this platform a job opening for an internship. People submit the applications and they don't come directly to me. First, the system filters automatically. Let's say if I will give you a clear example so you can understand it better. Let's say I posted, I have an opening for internships for next year, or for the end of this year. And I write in the job opening or job posting that the mother tongue, of course, for my section has to be Spanish. I had cases in which the candidates had a master's degree or were studying a master's degree in Spain. And that I thought is very, very good, because it's one of the requirements to have completed a bachelor's degree no more than a year ago, or be doing a master's degree or any other postgraduate course. But when I look at the application and I look at the part where the candidate has to say what is the mother tongue and where was the main course of study, it was somebody whose mother tongue was Arabic. So it's a great candidate, but maybe not for the Spanish section, maybe for the Arabic section, because he's somebody who was born in Lebanon, as an example, and her mother tongue is Arabic, but then she studied English and French and did study for a master's degree in Madrid. So she has a good Spanish level, very good Spanish level, but the mother tongue is not Spanish. So even if it's a great candidate, it's not for Spanish section, maybe for the Arabic section. You see, so this is an example that it's not only the, how can I say, the certificates, but explaining more. And so it's a lot of elements that are taken into consideration. I don't know if it clarifies, or if I confuse you more, just let me know.
Interesting. Well, what I'm understanding from this, before I ask the other UN Verbatim Reporting Services colleagues, is that, for example, if I, as a Spanish-speaking native, went to school and I major in English, then I would be a great candidate for your services, because then my source language is Spanish and English would be my target language, and that's what you will be interested in now. So does that mean that your department only translates from Spanish into those languages, or from those languages into Spanish?
It's always into the mother tongue. Everyone at the UN does that in these services. So it's always into the mother tongue. The source language is the mother tongue, not the other way around. So it's exactly the example you gave.
Yes.
For example, let's say you apply, you are a great candidate because your mother tongue is Spanish, and then you studied English at the university level, and so that is perfect. But if you, if it's the other way around, then you have to apply not for our Spanish section, but for the English or French, depending on your mother tongue.
Surprisingly, at the University of the Bahamas, we do have native Spanish-speaking students and also French native-speaking students, which is very interesting. I also saw in the chat a question on whether the same link would be used to apply for English, and I can see that was it Soraya who answered? Zoraida?
Yes, the same links would apply. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Do you have anything else to say about that, Zoraida? Would you like to add?
Oh, no. Those links are general. If you go to those links, you will see possibilities for any official language on the UN.
Beautiful. Marta, I can't let you just stay there listening. I have to ask you to share with us. Please help us. Let's say, I believe I'm ready to apply, and I go on the website. I'm assuming that you went through the process to apply. Oh, right. And so could you please explain to our students from the applicant point of view, tell us your experience as an applicant, how long you had to wait, what assessments you had to do, what information you had to present, how you had to prove yourself to be considered as part of this great team.
Okay, well, so you can hear me, right? Yeah. Okay, so hello, everyone. So yeah, that would be not in terms of internship. What I went through was in terms of, applying for a job at the UN. That would be through competitive examinations, and that's how you get to be part of the staff in the language services, not only Verbatim, but also the translation department. So the way it works, and this also, of course, applies for all the official languages, is that every so often there's a competitive examination that takes place for a specific language, and all candidates have to submit first, an application to be considered as a candidate for the examination. Again, as Alejandra said, you have to be mother tongue for that specific language. Before, a few years ago, you had to have two languages, like language B and language C. Nowadays, at least for Spanish, we only ask for one language, which is English. That's a must. If you have any other official language, Russian, Arabic, French, Chinese, then it's, that's, an advantage you have, but it's not, compulsory. And then if you're accepted as a candidate for the examination, then you go on to take the examination. Nowadays, you can do it online. it used to be, in my case, that it was more than 20 years ago, we had to come to either New York, Geneva, in our case, Spain. There was in Latin America, also in Santiago. There were different places in the world where you had to travel to, do the examination. Nowadays, it can be done online, and that was first part of the process. Then there are two more steps, I believe, where you're evaluated, and then you go through an interview, and that's how the UN has a pool of professionals, a roster, so to speak, to have all these people available for when we have a vacancy. And that's the way to to become a staff member here at the United Nations, and not necessarily only New York, but it could be in any other duty station. That's the process. So yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. We have a question in the chat. What if you failed the exam on the first try due to nervousness or whatever reason? Juana, I have to bring you on. What do you think would happen if a student or a recent graduate or a candidate decides to apply and they want to do the professional aptitude test and they fail? What would be the next process? And please, after you help us with the answer, if that is the correct question for you, also tell us about your experience as a translator of the verbatim reporting services.
As I remember, do you listen me? It's okay? Are you listening me okay? Yes. As I remember, you can fail 3 times. You can apply 3 times for examination. Is that all right, Alejandra? You can apply 3 times.
I am not sure about this.
Yes, I think so.
3 times. As far as I know, you are allowed to take it as many times as you want. I didn't know there was a limit, but I can find out. The thing is that if you fail once, you can still take it. That for sure. And also, even though this was going to revolve around the internships, since we are talking about the exam, I wanted to tell you that from time to time, the translation services, our colleagues in translation services organize informational meetings for different translations, for different translators and interpreters associations and universities on the exam and tips for the exam. They help you prepare. So we participated in these informational meetings with our colleagues. I don't remember, Marta, if it was like a couple of years ago. So that they give you tips on how to prepare for the exam. And one of the tips is that you don't have to have knowledge of the UN documents, for instance. Some people think that by reading UN documents that will help them, and that is unnecessary. One recommendation is, in the case of Spanish, because each language service is different, there is something called the Manual del Traductor, the Translator's Handbook, and also one called the Dudario, which is doubts on language and what is better usage, and false friends, faux amis, those words that are tricky, and advice on how to translate tricky phrases, for instance, or what else? Some recommendations that can be more helpful than reading UN documents. This is one of the tips that we were giving during those informational meetings on tips how to prepare for the exam. So when that happens, you will find it in social media, and we will let you know. But it's not very often because, as we mentioned before, there's a roster And when we see that we are running short of candidates, especially not so much in our service because we are 8 permanent staff, but in other language services, translation services, they are larger groups. And that roster is for all language services: verbatim, translation, editors, copy preparers, and proofreaders, which are other professions that are connected. So that roster covers all these language professionals. For interpreters, it's separate. And I don't talk about it because it's a separate service. So from that roster, we take candidates as we have vacancies arising. And so if, for instance, we have 40 people on the roster, we are not going to have many vacancies next year, let's say. We are not going to have an exam. But if we see that, for example, that next year, we are going to have a few candidates left, then we will decide to have a new exam. And when that happens, it will appear in social media, it will appear in the UN website, and we will let you know. And there will be these informational meetings in advance to provide some guidance and tips.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Juana, back to you. Tell us about your experience from the translator point of view. We want to hear from the inside. We have some more questions, but we would like to hear from your experience.
Okay, I will talk short about this. My experience was regarding Russian language, because my plus in this area was that I studied computer science in Russia many years ago. As I remember, when I worked with my team, it was lovely time. I worked in New York with them and miss you so much. I'm taking this opportunity to say hello to you. And sometimes when you are translated some document in English that was translated from Russia, you know, all the time you have that feeling that something is not okay, something is not all right. Then you have to lose some time to see if they translated correctly to the English, and sometimes wasn't right. Then I have to address to the chief of English language, or there was some mistake over here, are they correct? This is what my experience in that area. The work is very stressful because you have to be all the time focused that the document you are translating, because there are many questions that are addressing in General Assembly or the Security Council, are different questions. You have to be focusing in the document you are translating. But the one thing that I remember when I was working at the office, that everybody was cooperating, you know, everybody was helping everybody with all questions, all problems. It was so good, so fun, so stressing, so all emotions, but my experience was very good and great, you know. And when we were participating in the meetings in the Security Council, around that, so important people that are deciding our life or the life of all people on the planet, was amazing. I'm very emotional when I remember when I was there, but I encourage all these young people to join us, to join even to the English team or the Spanish team. You always will remember with great heart.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. I have a few more questions here. And you mentioned Russian. Our chair, Alvaro Bonilla, had a similar experience because he studied in Russian. And he made me promise that because he's so busy, he was not going to speak. But Chair Bonilla, we have somebody here who speaks Russian like you, and I know you had tremendous experience on that field as well. And can you please share with us briefly? Just taking on. Yes.
Как дела?
Хорошо, хорошо.
There you go.
Очень хорошо.
Очень приятно. Nice to meet you.
Очень приятно с вами познакомиться.
Could you, Chair Bonilla, could you please share with our students that are now under your mandate, how having that additional language has helped you even to coming into a country that was not part of your initial language acquaintance of knowledge, and now you are the chair of the School of Communication and Creative Arts at the University of the Bahamas, the #1 tertiary education entity in the country. And definitely one of the main ones we have become in the Caribbean region, especially the English-speaking Caribbean. Please give us your insight, because perhaps some students might not aim to be translators or interpreters, but language can also help them to form their career path. Please give us a few words.
Sí, déjame decirlo en español y te pido que lo traduzcas porque sé que algunos estudiantes...
Allow me to say it in Spanish, and I'm going to ask you to
va a ser difícil. Bueno, lo primero
the first
que quiero decirles es que
is that I want to say to you is that
un idioma, por ejemplo, como el idioma ruso, que tiene otro alfabeto,
Russian, that
que
has a
tiene
different
otra
alphabet.
estructura
It has a
gramatical,
different grammatical structure.
te ayuda a
Helps you
poder entender la estructura gramatical.
Enable you to understand the grammar structure of the other language.
Yo había estudiado también en la universidad antes de viajar a Rusia. Estudiaba filosofía y entonces estudié un poquito de griego antiguo.
So I was able to study ancient Greek.
Y cuando estudié el griego antiguo, todos los casos y la sintaxis y la estructura gramatical del griego antiguo me ayudaron muchísimo a la hora que estudié el idioma ruso, que tiene un alfabeto cirílico muy distinto, pero similar al griego.
Although it has an alphabet that is conforming a different way.
Entonces, al tener en mi mente dos idiomas tan diferentes como un idioma español que viene de una raíz latina y un idioma ruso que viene de un
Spanish is a Latin-based language,
que tiene una profunda influencia del griego antiguo, me ampliaron mucho el entendimiento
this
de la
knowledge enhanced my understanding.
También aprende uno a reconocer que nuestro idioma español tiene un diapasón de sonidos muy pequeñito.
Or recognize that Spanish has a, let's say, like a sound span range, which is very limited.
Otros idiomas, como en el caso del idioma ruso, que cuando uno empieza a estudiarlo, por ejemplo, tiene que decir la palabra bien o bueno, хорошо. Pero al principio venimos con el che de español, le decimos jarachó, hasta que tienen que enseñarnos a decir
Spanish, the word bien o bueno in Spanish, you have to make sure you pronounce the sh and the ch sound properly, so you can produce an accurate sound to obtain the right word.
Y eso mismo nos sucede con el idioma inglés, ¿verdad?
That's the same issue that we have with English language. There are series of sounds that we are unable to produce because of the way that our native language is conformed.
Y de la misma manera, los que tienen la lengua, el inglés como lengua materna, también se les dificulta ciertos sonidos que son sonidos
native English speakers also have difficulties producing
cuesta a la persona que habla inglés precisar el sonido.
Because English-speaking persons in some cases are not able to produce a precise sound.
He notado también que idiomas que son tan cercanos a nosotros como el portugués, sin embargo, el portugués tiene un diapasón de sonidos superior al español y entonces pueden
Languages that are
abarcar
so similar, such as
el
Portuguese,
idioma inglés y
have
otros
a
idiomas
higher range of
los abarcan
sounds in
mejor
comparison to
porque
Spanish.
tienen una fonética más amplia.
They have
que
a
la de
wider
español.
range of phonetic sounds.
En cuanto a
So
lo
in
que
terms of
sucedió conmigo, yo
my
viajé a lo que
experience,
entonces era la Unión Soviética a
I
estudiar
traveled to
medicina
what used to be called the Soviet Union
en 1979
in 1979.
y yo tenía 19 años.
I was 19 years old back then.
Y era la primera vez que
It
viajaba
was the
y era
first
todo
time
para
I
mí
traveled
primera
abroad.
vez. Y estudié
And I
3
studied
años medicina más un año de
3
preparatoria.
years
Y después, por
medicine
mi vocación
plus
de
an additional
escritor,
year of
cambié de instituto
prep.
y estudié literatura en un
Then
prestigioso instituto
I studied
de
literature
literatura, el
in
Instituto
Russia
de
in
Literatura Mundial Máximo Gorki en Moscú,
the Maximo Gorky
donde
International
concluí
Institute in Moscow.
una maestría en literatura.
I did a master's degree in literature.
De manera que fueron 11 años los que yo viví en la extinta Unión
So in
Soviética.
general, I lived 11 years in the Soviet Union.
Entonces, no solamente adquirí el idioma ruso como un segundo idioma,
Not only I
sino que
acquired
me formé
Russian as a second
como
language,
hombre, como
but I also
persona
was
en la
formed
extinta
as an
Unión
adult
Soviética.
in the Soviet
Cuando
Union.
yo regreso a Costa Rica
When I
en
returned to Costa Rica
1990,
in 1990,
además de ser testigo de toda la caída de
after
la
having
Unión
witnessed
Soviética,
the fall of the Soviet Union,
el idioma ruso estaba tan compenetrado en mi corazón
the Russian language was already such a part of me,
que
of my being,
en los primeros meses yo seguía soñando en ruso
that in the first months after I returned
y
home, I was
seguía
still dreaming in
planeando en
Russian.
ruso
I was still planning
y
my life in
seguía
Russian.
enojándome en
I
idioma
was
ruso
still
con
getting
malas
upset in
palabras en
Russian.
ruso.
And most of everything I did was in Russian.
Sí, y ahora, más de 30 años después,
Now, 30 years forward,
puedo leer fluidamente en
I
ruso,
can read fluently in Russian,
pero cuando hablo necesito como un tren calentarme porque ya se me meten las palabras en
but when
inglés
I
y en
speak now, I
español
need to warm up
y
because
se me
now
hace un
English gets
completo
in the way,
enredo.
and suddenly I have a puzzle of languages
Pero el
speaking
idioma
for
está
me.
allí sólido, yo sigo leyendo
My
textos
language is
en
there,
ruso,
very solid, very
las novelas de
strong. I continue
Tolstoy,
to
sigo
read
leyendo a Chekhov, a Dostoyevsky en ruso,
Dostoevsky
a
in
veces veo
Russian.
alguna película
Every now and then I
y,
watch a
y es un
movie,
idioma que sigue siendo para mí
and
el
it's a
segundo
language
idioma.
that for me will continue and will always be my second language.
El inglés nunca lo estudié.
I never studied English.
El ruso en la preparatoria recibíamos clases desde la mañana hasta las 3 de la tarde.
In Russia, in terms of Russian, when we did prep school for Russian, we did an immersion taking
Pero
lessons
inglés,
from
nadie
morning
me ha
time.
enseñado inglés.
But English is a language that nobody ever taught me.
Entonces, en mi mente casi no hay espacio para el inglés.
So in my brain, I hardly have any space for English.
Mi file está saturado de español y ruso.
My files are saturated with Spanish and Russian downloads.
Entonces, cuando tengo que hablar en inglés como ahora,
So when I have to speak in English like now,
me hago el ruso.
I pretend to be Russian.
Sí, pero es una experiencia riquísima, los
But it's a
idiomas.
very rich experience, a wonderful experience to have
Y
access
bueno,
to languages.
quería concluir diciéndoles que
I
me
wanted to
parece que
conclude by
esta
saying
reunión, esta conferencia
that this
es
meeting, this conference
extraordinaria.
is an extraordinary event.
Y yo le agradezco muchísimo el gran esfuerzo que ha hecho la profesora Mirurgia
I'm really grateful for the great effort that Professor
en medio de esta
Mirurgia
pandemia, en circunstancias tan
has made
difíciles,
in the midst of this pandemic and such difficult circumstances.
reunir a todos estos estudiantes que los amamos mucho,
To gather all of these students whom we really love,
con personas como ustedes que
And
también amablemente han dejado todo
with the
su
participation of all
trabajo
of the
para estar
professionals
aquí en esta
present who
plataforma,
kindly left everything you have to do to join us in this initiative.
compartiendo una información que es sumamente valiosa
Sharing information that is extremely important.
y que definitivamente nuestros estudiantes la necesitan porque ellos están deseosos de poder, una vez graduados, poder trabajar más allá de las aulas. Ellos quieren trabajar en las empresas privadas, en la diplomacia, en traducciones que los puedan llevar a ellos a escenarios internacionales.
Different global scenarios.
Especialmente aquí en las Bahamas, porque siendo un país cosmopolita, turístico, sin embargo, el estudiante no tiene espacios ni escenarios donde practicar el idioma español, por ejemplo.
The Spanish language.
Entonces el aula viene a ser ese lugar donde ellos practican, y eso, en el aula todos sabemos que el aula solamente es un espacio para el aprendizaje, pero no para que fluya la vida. Y el idioma es vida.
Practice and to learn, not really to allow life to flow. So
este trabajo que se está haciendo hoy, ahora mismo, en esta plataforma, espero que sea el primero de muchos otros.
I hope this is the first event of so many that are needed.
Y que una vez que se vaya esta pandemia que nos tiene a todos como
once
Robinson Crusoe,
are able to get through this pandemic that have us on a Robinson Crusoe mode.
Espero que cuando se puedan abrir las fronteras y podamos desplazarnos,
once all borders are open,
todas ustedes, personas lindas que están
compartiendo
puedan venir a las Bahamas.
That you can visit the Bahamas.
Podamos tener una comunicación directa,
a direct communication, a face-to-face
que va a enriquecer mucho a todos,
that I am sure that will
en
enrich
especial a nuestros estudiantes.
all of us, and especially our students.
Y también poder, yo como chair, espero tener influencia para ayudar a que los estudiantes puedan
Now
estar
that as a chair I have the influence to help students, I would like to take advantage of that opportunity so that students can visit Spain, Cuba, different places, and have this
relaciones internacionales,
type of international
multilingües, porque
relations
realmente
and
ellos lo
connections, the multilingual
y se lo merecen porque
individuals
son
need, because they deserve
estudiantes
it,
esforzados
because
que
they are
realmente
students that
aman
work
las
very
lenguas
hard,
extranjeras.
and
Lo
they
dejo
are
hasta aquí
really
porque
working
hablé
very hard
demasiado.
to
Muchas
acquire
gracias.
their foreign languages. Thank you very much. Bueno, estudiantes, ya vieron cómo funciona la interpretación. Students, you see how interpretation works. I was caught off guard. My volume was not the best, but I hope I was able to help you to understand the message from our chair, Bonilla. Thank you. So Gio, I have a question for you. For students who might not necessarily be interested or may not qualify to work or to take advantage of the opportunity of internship at the United Nations, and they may want to be in the translation and interpretation field as professionals. I speak about it a lot in class, but it's important also to listen, to hear other persons who have been very successful in the field. Can you, since you started to talk about the career path, our students are receiving one translation course, which is General Introduction to Translation. What advice can you give them in terms of forming their career path to become independent professionals, besides joining CETA when it's formed, of course? Please help us.
Sure, definitely. An introduction to translation course, you all know, will not be enough. You need practice, and that's necessary. There are many courses available online nowadays that can assist you. There are many courses offered in Brazil, in the US, in Mexico. Some of them are free. There is what they call CPD courses, is continued professional development courses that you should look into. Another place to look into is MOOC, Coursera, Udemy, These are all entities that are offering some of them free courses, some of them offer you certificates. You pay $50 and you get a certificate, usually from a university. That will give you more knowledge, will increment your professional baggage, will not train you to be a translator unless you take a translation course, one of those they offer. The other option I have is for you to start working maybe as a revisor for a colleague, a proofreader. If you join an association, you'll be able to offer your services to other individuals. Facebook, believe it or not, also offers some opportunities for work, especially for those who are starting up. There are many groups within Facebook that are specialized. You can look for legal translation groups, medical translation groups, and you're going to learn a lot of terminology, a lot of techniques. If your interest is in environment, there are environmental translation groups. So check. And in your language, if you work with English and German, look for it in English and in German, because you're going to have different experiences in each one of those groups. These are all things that are going to help you hone your skills. Offering your services to colleagues who belong to these groups will also work in that direction, because they're going to have work that needs revision. Cool. So you go and do the revision. You charge for it, please. It's not for free. Okay. You do that job. In the process of reviewing their work, you are learning new expressions. You're observing grammatical structures. It's part of the learning process. It's what you're going to need to use in the future. So this is a good way to get your foot in the path to going forward. Yes, enhance your vocabulary. Absolutely, Kithra. That is exactly one of the things that you need to do. And the other thing is never stop learning. For those of you who are starting and need to check some work quickly in terms of vocabulary, there is a website that is very interesting, twolingual.com. What it does is a search. It brings the search from Google, but it searches 2 languages at the same time. So you identify what language you're working with, let's say Japanese and Italian. And then you put the sentence that you want in one of those 2 languages, and it will bring forward to you articles, scientific articles, newspaper articles, things from the internet in both languages. Sometimes one will be a translation of the other. Sometimes they're just random search results. But that will assist you in seeing how the expression is used in different areas, how the sentence is used in different contexts. And it's an opportunity for you to grow, also learn, hone your skill. I hope I gave you some good ideas over there, because number one, you have to study further in order to get to where we, the professionals, are.
Okay, muchas gracias. Okay, I have Jimena Morales. Jimena Morales, can you hear us? Jimena?
I can hear you.
Okay, can you speak a little louder?
Hi.
Okay, Jimena, I'm seeing this name, but based on the name, are you in the field? Maybe I did not get your name ahead of time. I feel compelled to ask you, perhaps if you're in the field, you can share something with us.
Yes, I would be glad to introduce myself. My name is Jimena Morales. I'm located in the north of Mexico, in Monterrey. I met some of you guys in Varadero in 2000, en 2016. I graduated from Applied Linguistics. I'm a translator for the retail industry, and I don't know, I'm glad to learn from all your experiences.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess you're part of the Lingua Nerds. Lingua Nerds is the name that came up. I like creating names. One day, and at one of the conferences in Varadero, I was talking to the Panamanian Association. Rogelia was there, Suzette was there. And I said, so I guess this is a lingua nerd, this is a gathering of the language nerds. So we are lingua nerds. And Suzette from Panama right away created a chat called Lingua Nerds. And ever since then, we have been collaborating with the Association of Panama, Mexico, whoever comes to this event. This is an event that is celebrated every 2 years. It's a Cuba, Quebec Symposium. It's for translators, interpreters, and terminologists. So I am going to ask a few questions that I see in the chat. Willinda for our translation class is asking, is there an age limit for the applications to apply for internship? Can any of the UN verbatim reporting services professionals help us with that answer? Is there any age limit to apply for internships?
No, there's no age limit, but the requirements are explained in the Inspira platform, or in the when the posting appears, you will see that it says that the requirement is you have to have finished getting the bachelor's degree no more than a year ago. Either you are in the last year of the bachelor's degree career, or you finished your studies no more than a year ago, okay. Or you are studying, you are doing a postgraduate course, such as for a master's or a PhD, anything after the bachelor's degree. So if, let's say, somebody thinks, it happens, some applications, some candidates said, I have a degree in translation and I got a master's degree 9 years ago. So the problem is not age, but that they finished studying too long ago. They have to be either students or somebody who has completed the bachelor's degree no more than a year ago. So there is a confusion. It's not about age, but about how long ago they finished studying, or if they are still studying.
So I'm understanding that
I can still, good. So I can still have hope, right?
Yeah. I'm understanding that we have. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Professor Hernandez. All the details are in the link that we sent you in Inspira, because I am afraid of saying something that is not correct, because all the explanation is there. I think there might be an age limit, because there is an age limit to apply as a candidate for a post. So it may be also the same. I'm not sure, Marta or Anna, if you remember, the retirement age for staff members, for UN staff members nowadays is 65 years old. So I think you have to be, if I'm not mistaken, not older than 56 or 58 when you apply, because they consider how many years of service you will have. That is the entity for staff.
Yes.
For interns, it's more about the studies, but it's more or less, I don't know, Anna or Marta.
Ana Maria, yes, probably on.
If you remember.
Yes, as far as I can remember, candidates must be enrolled in a graduate school program, I mean, second university degree or equivalent or higher. And besides, be enrolled in the final academic year of a first university degree program. I mean, minimum bachelor's level. That's what I remember, and have graduated within a university with a university degree, and if selected, he must commence the internship within 1 year after his or her graduation. That's what I think.
Wonderful. I have another question here. How soon after you submit your application would you receive notice that your application was accepted or not? And this, I'm assuming that this question is for internships. Students, as I understood, we have two opportunities. You have the opportunities to apply for internships, and you also have the opportunity to apply as a candidate, as a professional. Is that correct?
Yes. That's
okay.
Correct.
So let's say students apply for internship. How soon after applying they learn that the application was accepted, and then they apply as candidates to work, to be placed as professionals? How soon after applying? In both cases, can you help us, somebody from the Verbatim team?
Yeah, so for the internships, the process, it's a little bit shorter. There's, I think once a year, there's a time where internships are announced, and then we received all the applications, and then maybe Alejandra can tell you more about it, but within a matter of a few weeks, normally we review all the applications, and then we can select, you know, the interns that we're gonna have, which are usually for us, for our particular department, are usually can be from 2 to sometimes 4 interns. It depends a little bit on our capacity, you know, to accommodate them, to provide proper, you know, capacity building. And but this is more or less, it's hard to give an exact time frame, but usually it's a matter of maybe, you know, a month or a few weeks even. For the other, you know, for the possibility of becoming a staff member, that is a much longer process, and it depends, but usually once the competitive examination has been announced, there's a period where you have to submit your application, and then probably within a few months, I would say more months than weeks, you would receive the okay to go ahead and be a part of the competitive examination. And then from then on, it can take a longer period. It's also hard to give a time frame, but yeah.
I see another question here that more than likely would be answered perhaps when prospects visit the website and see the requirements, but just in case the answer is here or it's being considered, I have a question saying, where are the internships held remotely, face-to-face, in your home country or in New York?
Yeah, so far, I think Anna answered on the chat. So far, we have only had in-person internships. And in fact, our last internship was before the pandemic. And since then, as Alejandra mentioned, we haven't, you know, had interns. I know for a fact that some other sections or services, like the translation service into Spanish, which is a much bigger service than us, they do have remote internships. So it's something that we don't rule out in the future, but so far we haven't yet explored our this possibility. But I know for a fact that there is such a thing as a remote internship. But for us at the Verbatim section, so far it's in person.
Okay, thank you. I believe this was probably mentioned before, but the question is still here. Does internship include both translation and interpretation? As I recall, you said your department works on reporting, like actas literales, translation, but is there an internship opportunity for interpretation also?
So that's a question I don't want to give you the wrong information. I'm not sure the interpreting service, which is a completely different service from us, although we are in the same big department. I'm not sure if they do have internships. We could maybe try and find out for you. For us, it's translation. And in fact, as you probably saw from Anna's presentation, our work is somehow in the middle of interpreting and translating, because we work, our material is spoken speech. So that's what we work on, but then we put it in writing. So it's a bit in between, but the work for us would be translating. Our interns also get to experience live meetings at the UN, at least before the pandemic. That's how it worked. We took our interns into the meeting rooms, the Security Council, as this is actually part of our work. And so they get to do this as well and experience the meeting live, be there in person, listen to the interpreting live. And also that's one thing that we do have, all the recordings from the interpreters that have been interpreting into all 6 official languages. So, but the main work for the interns would be to translate.
Interesting. I saw a very dear colleague who joined the meeting. I know during this time, most of us are attending class sessions. And then that's why I was so glad that Chair Alberto Bonilla was able to join us, because he normally is either teaching or in a meeting. But I saw a former chair who's now still one of our colleagues and always working on doing something. Dr. Batiria Tokerol. Are you there, Dr. Tokerol? Dr. Tokerol was the chair at the time when this initiative started, Alejandra, when you and I met in Havana. And Chair Bonilla, as I mentioned before, was the head of the department at the time, and now he's taking forward all of this work that was preliminary organized. Well, I'm not sure if she can hear us properly. Dr. Toker, are you there? Well, just wanted to welcome her.
I am. Thank you so much for the welcome. I'm transitioning to campus, so I just want to thank you all, to the presenters and students. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for taking time for being with us. And for being with us. We have here in the audience, Nelly Oliva. Nelly is one of the interpreters that came from a program in the Bahamas. We had initially a course that the Bahamas translators did using the UB campus, and then eventually extension studies when we were in transition from the College of the Bahamas to the University of the Bahamas. The university itself offered a course, and we were able to help. I was teaching there. Professor Cismara Sanchez Labastida helped remotely from Cuba. Also, Giovanna Lester helped. Nelly, are you there? We spoke a lot about translation, but I want you to listen from somebody who became an interpreter, and how we like to say, she went from bilingual to interpreter, conference interpreter. It was a very fast track. Having the language acquisition was a plus for her. And Nelly has worked as my booth partner. She has worked in many international events, including events hosted in the Bahamas under the many United Nations committee. Nelly, please tell us about your experience, and can you please share with those who want to follow your footprints?
Okay, good afternoon, everybody, or morning still. First of all, I want to say thank you to Miruja, of course, for the amazing opportunity. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. All I knew is that she required help, and she also wanted to give us all the opportunity to get to know all the areas that we didn't know they were available or they could possibly be available in the Bahamas. So I do gotta say that it was one of the most amazing experiences, nerve-wracking, of course, because the times that we spend at the booths translating, I don't think I ever had that excitement in my life, ever. It is an amazing experience to be able to interpret at the speed that most of the speakers and conferences used. And having that opportunity in the Bahamas, it's something that I want to tell everyone that you could do it. And you can do it worldwide. Is how you set your mind and your desire, because once you know another language, there's no limit. You could do it. And of course, a lot of work and preparation. I admire Miruja very much for all the time she has put into getting us there, getting us those jobs, getting us the training. And that's what we need. We need to come together, and we need to represent the small area of the Caribbean and be able to provide us services here, especially with such a high tourism industry. And so, yeah, I mean, you said it all, and I think everybody's experiences have hopefully can encourage all of the young students. And thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, we're almost coming to an end, but before we leave, Ana Maria, as the coordinator for internships, what do you expect from our students? I understand that for your process of selection, you will need persons who have Spanish as a mother tongue, but then we also understand that opportunities are available for persons who have English as a native language. So considering that we understand now that you will apply for an internship in the department that represents your mother language, your mother tongue, if I'm correct, can you please help us to recollect, give us a recollection, give us a recap of the process that you expect our prospects to go through? We cannot hear you. Are you speaking? Okay, no sound. Does anyone hear? Just like in a conference, we have an issue and the colleague is right there coming to the rescue. This is, it's just beautiful. Honestly, what we do is beautiful, guys. So the website was shared before. If one of the UN Verbatim reporting services colleagues can kindly share the website for those who came a bit later, or in case somebody lost their connection and lost access to the chat, can you please post the website where candidates can apply for internship? Also, if you have the website to apply as a professional, because some of our students have graduated for a couple of years now, or some of the persons might have the skills and they might consider they don't need to go through the internship. They would like to try to join the team. if one of the UN Verbatim reporting services professionals can post again.
Professor Hernandez, here is the in the chat. If you go up in the chat, Zoraida sent the link. I don't know if it can be seen on the chat where it says Zoraida, and she posted UN internships, and the link is there. I don't know if it can be seen.
Yes, I can. I can see it.
Yes, UN internships, careers.un.org. That is one of the links.
Career.un. Okay. Now it's not allowing me to copy and paste.
Yes, that's what I tried, and it didn't allow me either. But
and also, Alejandra, while we are trying to get this, Ana Maria, how can the University of the Bahamas join this initiative that your department has, where you will come and train us to understand what to expect? Because now we understand that your team will be looking for Spanish native speakers, but maybe we can also receive the team that requires English native speakers. How can the University of the Bahamas benefit, or what is the first step rather to create a collaboration with you where we can give this amazing opportunity to our students directly?
Well, in this case, I would have to talk to my colleagues in the English verbatim reporting service to see if they are available or not. For us, of course, we are willing to collaborate by any means that we can, whether it's remotely or in person. We are very interested. And in particular, because as Anna or Marta mentioned before, the Latin America and Caribbean region is underrepresented at the UN as regards language professionals. And one of our goals is to have more interns and staff members from the Latin America and Caribbean region. So we would love to help or collaborate in any way that we can. Now, as regards the English native speakers, that is a matter I would have to talk to my colleagues in the English verbatim reporting service and perhaps the English translation services, because in that case, it doesn't depend on the Spanish team, and it depends on their availability and willingness to do some kind of, in this case, will be outreach efforts, because we have two types of collaboration that one we call outreach and one we call internships, even though they are closely connected. So one brings the other, as you can see, because what we were doing in Havana was outreach activities through which we would go in person to offer translation workshops. Now, this is closely related to internships, because as we went, that was a chance when we met, one goes with the other, and this opportunity arose. So for the English or French, I know you have also French students, or no, correct me if I am wrong, people who are native French speakers. In that case, I would have to contact my colleagues in those sections to explore the possibilities. And it will be very interesting if we could combine all those efforts, right? Not isolated efforts, only Spanish language on one side and English and French on the other side. By the way, we did this with the Russian section. We collaborated before, and in this program that we had with the University of Havana, this outreach, we offered also workshops in which Russian translators went to Havana to offer Russian into Spanish translation workshops. So there can be, different arrangements, and it's a matter of exploring the possibilities. So we will. I will mention this possibility to my colleagues at the next chance I have when I have the next chiefs meeting. And I know we are all very busy now because it's, you know, the General Assembly open debate plus the meetings of the Security Council, but we will explore the possibilities and I'll get back to you on that.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we are at the end of our seminar, our celebration of the International Translation Day. It's normally celebrated on the 30th of September. As we celebrate San Jeronimo, well known for the translation of the Bible. Not that it was the first work of translation, as my students and I have been exploring. Rosetta Stones, the Rosetta Stone was actually accounted as, you know, the first translation, but you know, who knows? The history of humanity is so rich. We daily learn about new opportunities and new and other cultures and generations that we never knew of. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank all persons present. First of all, I would like to thank our chair, Alvaro Bonilla, for allowing us the opportunity to make an event of the translation class conversation, to take it further, because I decided to use my translation period, but it was originally only for our students. So thank you so much, Chair Bonilla, and Head of Department Dr. Marky Jean-Pierre, who is in class now. Definitely thank you, Gio Lester, President of ABRACHES, the Association of Translators and Interpreters of Brazil. Thank you very much to our special guests, the professionals from the United Nations Verbatim Reporting Services. Thank you very much. Thank you to all those persons visiting from other associations, such as APTI, the Association of Translators and Interpreters of Panama, Jimena in Mexico, Nelly, part of the Bahamas Translators team. Thank you very much. The students of Spanish 420 class, Juana, muchas gracias for joining us as well. Dr. Tucker Roll, thank you. I know you are getting ready for class. Thank you for stopping by. And any other person, I hope I did not forget anybody. And I would like to leave you with a video, just as we close. I know some students have to transition into their respective class. I want to give you a reason to laugh, not only smile, but laugh today. Ana Maria, were you able to get your audio sorted out?
I think so. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, okay, so after Ana Maria, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I was just writing a message. Okay. Thank you. My best piece of advice to every and any candidate who would like to be an intern in the United Nations would be to feel, to trust themselves, to have a great sense of commitment to their career, to his career, to what he wants to achieve in life. Something very important is teamwork and professionalism. Try to be as professional, as much professional as possible since the very beginning, since the very first translation you make. To hear advice, to be very concentrated, and to have an everlasting thirst of learning. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. And as promised, let me make sure you could hear this properly. And as you log out, I would like to share this wonderful piece that definitely does not represent what we do, but this helps us to understand why is it that we do what we do, to ensure that In no meeting this happens. Thank you again, and
Thank
until
you.
next time.
Till next time.
CEOs from around the world in this room. In 10 minutes, the annual summit's supposed to take place. They've flown thousands of miles to get here, and my translator hasn't turned up. I need to find someone who can translate into 7 different languages.
Well, I can do that. Yeah, I did a TEFL in my gap year.
Welcome back to London, ladies and gentlemen. This is Helen Marsh, who'll be our interpreter today. So, without further ado, let's address section 1.1, multinational profiteering for the financial year 2005-2006. Helen.
Hurdy-gurdy-gurdy. Hurdy-gurdy-gurdy-gurdy. Gurdy. Oh, bud. Oh, bud. No, ma no, cosa ta dici, vado This is not my sandwich.
Thank you. I hope you had a great laugh. And now you understand why you have to be proficient in the languages in which you are trying to work on. Muchas gracias. Thank you for joining us.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Mirugia.
Happy International Translation Day.
Feliz Día del
Muito
Traductor para
obrigada.
todos.
Feliz Día
Thank you.
del Traductor. Remember,
Bom dia pra
hashtag
todos.
ITD 2021 at 242. Ciao.
Tchau.
Chao, chao.
Chao.